Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Don't know what took so long for Texas State to get in the lobby, but they are going to be going into Winners Round 2 versus a very difficult Ottawa Braves squad coming up. So a very difficult task. We have our maps obviously listed ahead above you. Ottawa does have 2 Ts, not 1, so we'll hopefully get that fixed here before we jump on into the broadcast overall. But for the Braves and the Bobcats, expectations have to be that the Braves will find a way to pretty easily 3-0 here. That will at least be the anticipation, I think, for people that have been watching
throughout
before.
the entire Cold War season, this is the most winningest college team in the Call of Duty community for good reasons, right? I mean, when you're just thinking about the entire club as a whole, between gold, this is going to be their black roster that's going to be listed out. The one that did play second in the overall CCL season, Cruelty, Fame, Lightning, Noisy. If you are a fan of amateur Call of Duty as a whole, you know those 4 players that I just listed. But Texas State Esports, they are well equipped. They have some heavy hitters themselves. Starting off on Apocalypse Hardpoint, this could be where some damage could be done.
Yeah, it sure could be. It's going to be one of those things, though, that with the David versus Goliath effort now required, you're going to need all 4 players to really come to life, because obviously the notoriety that comes around Lightning, Cruelty, Fame, and Noisy just individually through their careers over the last 2 years really goes without really needing to be mentioned. So it's going to have to be something really electric here from the Bobcats. Good start, 23 points already secured from the first hill, trying to get to the rotation, but maybe a little bit late. Mataska has to try to pick up and will find the kill versus Fame, but you look over towards the top left side of the minimap, Draco has actually already spawned out, so you're going to have to make a move and move very quickly here for the Bobcats, and you want to try to hold on to this P2 setup.
And now Mataska essentially has to deal with this push. It's going to come through Rugs just in moments of time. There's Noisy, drops down. We'll be able to find that elimination. Draco, though, is still here with the Sprig. Going to have another handful of players behind them. The spawns will be in for Ottawa, but the reinforcements from Texas State, they're starting to come through from P4 side. But the setup for Ottawa, you got to deal with them in spades. You got to find all the kills in quick succession.
Yeah, not going to be good enough here for the Bobcats, as the Braves will take their advantage with the proximal spawns and turn it into a very convincing hold, at least thus far. Texas State need to make a decision here at 30 seconds. You don't just want to give this away freely, but at the same rate, you don't want to get rid of this mid-map position that they already have. So a couple of trades will come through. Down to 22 seconds now on the clock for this hard point. And if you're going to make an attempt, it would have to be right here, but shut down before it can really even get underway, as Lightning finds a couple. And with that, it looks like the Braves will be good for the vast majority of time here through the second hill, and beyond that, an opportunity to start making their way across the map and fight for position in the mid.
Top 16, top 8 finishes, both across the CCL X ABC event and then the CCL playoffs that we had just a few months ago for Texas State. And the last time that these two teams faced, it was Ottawa Braves that did in fact take it in a 3-0 fashion. It just speaks more into the David versus Goliath situation. Texas State Esports, they are a good team, but Ottawa Braves, as far as what you're concerned, is just that much better, as Noisy is able to find themselves too as a double weapon setup. 5 HP is still looking to challenge this. Draco is not the player they were looking for, but they will be eliminated via them regardless. Setup, it was about to be there for Texas State, but Ottawa just quick off the P2 area. It was just right into the thick of it.
Yeah, and realistically here for Ottawa, it's just the speed that they're moving that has given them the advantage that they have at the moment. You talk about just kind of going back to the opening hard point, the fact that Ottawa is able to get so aggressive over towards P2, forcing those Bobcat spawns to go out, and then again, kind of making their way from 2 to 3. Even though they will not get the scrap time here, they did a nice job contesting and even generating a bit of score themselves. So now we go over to what should be a more 50-50 battle here for the initial time of the 4th hill. That said, small advantage to the Bobcats, who already are inside and hold some pretty key positions around, but they still need to find the kills. Fame for 1, not going to be able to get more beyond that. Noisy picking up where he left off. That's a couple. Nate at his feet, able to get some damage done, and Lightning will use that to at least credit Noisy for an assist as he finishes the kill, and the Braves make their way into ruins.
Still close spawns for both these teams to try to reinforce this area. You can see that Texas State, they're trying to go for the chicken coop area first. They got to deal with Lightning inside. Useless. There comes Oscar to be able to deal with them. Then turns around and finds Noisy on the hard point itself. For Cruelty, they got themselves the setup coming out of the ruins. They'll find 2. That's a 4 down for Texas State and Ottawa. They may not have upset the spawns, but they can still keep them trapped here for the time being.
Trying to find their way over. 13 seconds. That will be soaked up for free here for Ottawa. And Texas State are going to take the long route around the back. They will not be able to pressure the spawns from this position. It's all about just trying to fight this from the front. Mataska now taking a cut over towards the backside, but it's not going to be good enough. That's picked up by Lightning, no problem. And after what looked to be a pretty solid contested start, the Bobcats now find themselves looking down maybe a smoking barrel here of maybe a full 60 for Ottawa. They're in a really good position. Again, the spawns haven't been threatened whatsoever. So now the hit from the front. It's going to have to be successful here for Texas State with 40 seconds on the clock. Lightning Fame, they combine for 2. Cruelty waiting for the challenger from the front. Good patience. It is a virtue after all. And with that, the Braves will make their way towards 150 points on the board.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating if you are Texas State. I mean, you essentially found absolutely nothing off of P4, even though you had the useless building spawns. And well, then Ottawa just cut mid-map, and they get the setup inside of 5. Draco is just trying to make something happen back over here. Scripps will be here to try to help things out, but it's scrap time. We're down to 10 seconds. You got to start getting set up towards the middle of the map because you are down considerably. 110 points will be the margin that Texas State have to claw their way back from in the second set of hills.
It's one of those things that you notice kind of around that 40-second mark when Texas State is trying to break out what is really their first good setup for a break, because the contest through the early time is largely off of a rotational fight, but it's that first break attempt. If Texas State don't find even trades, Ottawa's quick to win the gunfights and then take away so much of the map to where they don't ever give the Bobcats a second chance to even break on in. So realistically for the Bobcats, either number one, try to find a way to win these rotational fights from hill to hill, or number two, you got to be a little bit more trade heavy when it comes to those first contests on their break attempts, because what we've seen so far is just Ottawa, they see an advantage and they're quick to take it and then some. An opportunity here for the Bobcats to dig into this lead, though. It's been a very good first hard point for them for the second time in a row, but there will be a battle here to contest what happens for the second hill as it opens up.
They're going to be able to read this if you are Ottawa. Nice stick coming through from Noisy to take down Mataska, and it's either Noisy or Fame. To go back to that formula that's been working so well, it's the front line of the submachine guns from Ottawa that are just carving the way, quite literally, so that way then Cruelty and Lightning can get themselves set up further inside of all these hard points, trying to continuously create the space. Texas State really need to start dealing with both Fame and Noisy before they can start really sinking their teeth into any of these hills, or even trying to break them. The setup is just too strong.
Yeah, it's just been a little bit too easy here for Ottawa. Even on that attempt, the Bobcats did enough to force one player to spawn out. That was Fame, but all of the challenges afterwards were individual. So again, that's at the 40-second mark. Now you're down to 26 seconds. You can't give this up. You actually have to contest this. Otherwise, the game will just be too far out of reach. So one more set of spawns will come through for Bobcats on the backside. It's going to be Cruelty trying to hold on to the hard point for some scrap time, but he's deleted almost instantly. So not bad for Texas State. They do eventually work their way in, but there's not really any breathing room here. The Bobcats are going to put together a perfect rotation, and perfection is actually on the card so far. 3 straight kills, and with that exit from 2 to 3, it's Texas State who cleanly make their way over for some more time here in the third.
Yeah, the margin of error is just 29 seconds. That's all Ottawa need to be able to close things out. Noisy is going to come from behind. The setup has to be here. Tactic is going to need some help once Cruelty ends up trying to drop down. But through the middle of the map, there is some presence being felt, but the trades are starting to come through. Ottawa are going to have numbers to try to break this. Mataska at least able to find a trade. You just got to keep them zoned away.
Tosca for 2. Scripps try to pick up the trade, able to find that. And no time given away yet. Texas State still looking convincing here through the third. One more set of gunfights definitely on the table, though, as Ottawa is starting to make their play through the lower edges of this kind of a complex here on the right side. Scripps good for 3 in a row. He is by himself. 16 seconds he has to fight for. Gets a read onto Fame, but can't win the gunfight. And like you mentioned, with a margin of only 29 seconds between Ottawa and a win, 13 of those being earned here on the scrap time is not going to feel good. Also, beyond that, you're going to get the rotational gunfight starting to come through. Good initial attempt from Draco, but Fame and Noisy, they will be able to get some team shots in for a double, and that may be the game right there. Texas State spawning all the way out. You don't want to have to try to push this through the cave system, but you're likely going to have to. Cruise missile called in for Noisy as he's put together an unbelievable game. Slows it down, throws it towards the entry. 247 on the cards, and Fame and Noisy just lighting up this entryway. No one will touch. In Ottawa, after a significant delay between winners round 1 and winners round 2, waste no time getting themselves on the board here in the second round.
Yeah, and again, this was, especially for me, if you're looking at the Ottawa's perspective, it was the Fame and Noisy show. It's just always just pushing the envelope. As you can see, the best play from Fame themselves. It's just always just being a nuisance on the front line. And it's not like that they were taking just a continuous amount of pressure from a lot of different angles. They were just continuously rushing up the gut, finding 2, finding 3, and always finding the sides of Texas State. they were just never, not necessarily looking for them, but they were always caught by surprise, either by Fame and Noisy, and that then allowed both Lightning and Cruelty to always encroach forward and then get set up for all of that time. That 40-second margin was always a big key point, like what you said there, Shift. It's just unfortunate that Texas State just a little bit too late as far as individual heroics to try to turn a hard point.
And as much as we were talking earlier about how, some of these teams are not going to be feeling as complete as they were, obviously, at the end of our regular season through Cold War, the one thing that's always stayed consistent with a team like Ottawa, and you see this as you climb the echelons of the competitive tiers in Call of Duty, is a solid team will not just punish you for making mistakes, they will also not give you many opportunities to convert in your own right. And I think that's a lot of the conversation point around that hard point, is that Ottawa would give you one good look at a break attempt if you did not beat them on rotation. And if you don't win or at least even out that attempt, that's it. You're done. They're not going to give you a chance to kind of contest that, at least for a full setup ever again. So really good stuff there from Ottawa. A very convincing win. Again, our presenting sponsors here for this Florida Mutineers and CCL Invitational are both Nature's Bounty and Zaxby. Nature's Bounty in particular, well, they've got a couple of really cool products that are definitely focused towards the gamer and all of us. So if you're looking to try to test out their product, their Brain HP Watermelon Jelly Bean Focus Formula is going to be given away here on stream. All you have to do is just go ahead and type in the chat, Brain HP, one word, no spaces, BRAINHP, and that will get you an entry in towards the giveaway. One lucky winner will be DM'd, I imagine, through Twitch. So also make sure that your Twitch whispers do stay open as we run through this giveaway. So get that in chat right now. It'll be open for a while, and we'll turn our attention over to Express Search and Destroy. I will say Texas State, there was a lot of conversation around them, University of Texas at Arlington, University of Texas, Dallas. At the end of the last year, a lot of conversation about where do you kind of formulate them in a tier list. And Texas State definitely was in the picture, and I think a lot of it was mostly because their search and destroy was pretty darn good as compared to some of those other teams we just mentioned.
You're absolutely right. And it was all off the back end of their AR lineup, funny enough. And what we're looking at mostly coming away from that hard point, who's a player that was more or less stepping up when it was absolutely called for, it was Draco. And Draco is one of those players, is lightning fast, say like you're Noisy in your Fame just in this lobby alone, but plays a very methodical style when it comes down to search and destroy. Almost sure. You can see them commanding the troops and just overlooking a lot of these longer range of sites. And that's where Express could be quite good for Texas State. As long as you're able to methodically play out the information, some of those unforced errors that you were alluding to that Ottawa aren't so nice at giving up is a lot more potent when it comes down to search and destroy. Cruelty was pretty honest when we were talking just a few days ago, and he already had said that if there's any way that any team is going to beat us, it's going to be through the search and destroy, and you have to upset them on the control. The respawns are too good for Ottawa of what we just saw from Apocalypse, and Texas State, to your point alone, has to rely on this very strong search and destroy to be able to take this map and even up the series ahead of the control.
Yeah, it's a tall ask no matter where you look at a matchup versus this Ottawa squad. But I would say at least for Texas State, coming off of their maybe not as comfortable respawn versus Kennesaw State in their opening round, they were very good in the search and destroy. It was a 6-1 tally there, at least as far as we caught on the reports overall. So, that's great news as far as what you might be able to anticipate going forward into this map number 2. But kind of like we were framing up, I would say, between UCF and Full Sail from our Winners Round 1 broadcast, you can't go down 0-2 to a team like Ottawa, and no matter which roster you happen to be playing up against, especially this one in particular with so much experience through challengers. You have to come out, have to get at least a map win early. Otherwise, your chances of beating this squad are essentially nil. We said that a lot about not only them playing against the other Ottawa team at the end of the season, of the regular season this last year, but the same thing about St. Edwards. And the thing was, in that first grand finals that we had from a couple of months ago, St. Edwards did come out and take it to Ottawa, putting them on the kind of, the testing block early. So far, not the case for Texas State. So the question that needs to be answered here is, can you come out and start this search and destroy hot? Otherwise, this series very well may be over before you know it.
It very well might be. And I think you got to mostly look at a lot of these avenues and angles. The same could be taken away from Apocalypse. Fame and Noisy, they got away with the highway robbery. Or trainway robbery. That was really hard to say, but you got it nevertheless.
It's like the old Western train heist coming through.
Tumbleweed
Ottawa on their horses. I guess the reference kind of checks out. Noisy, first blood, gets away. My goodness. So slippery, and then gets the regen, has a second chance. Tactic never expects it. Sure, Matoska's there for the trade, but damage for sure has already been dealt.
Oh, for sure. And just essentially just going to be pinch, bomb dropped in a precarious position.
Did we not set up the CDL search and destroy rule set, I wonder here? This could get interesting quickly. As a bullet train passes right on through. That would have been a really terrible way for Matoska to die. But he's still alive, and he's found himself 3 kills, 1v1, try to finish this off. This would be a full-on ace and a 1v3, catches Cruelty out, and Matoska wins it. Oh my goodness. I know lightning plays for the other team, but it's struck early here for Texas State.
Bowling through. I mean, I guess at this point, if you're Texas State, you just hope that you don't have to reset this entirety, because that was a great round. Regardless, the gunny looking hot. Decision-making also coming through in full. Just to be able to turn that and convert it into a round win. Yeah, there it goes. Here, we're going to go here and set this. I mean, I was all here for it. Look, if there's one thing I always look forward to in a lot of maps and instances, you know, the old throwback for Black Ops 2 maps, it's 2 things. Clay falling off the map and people getting hit by in-game effects. Like, it's those 2 things that just give me so much life.
Hey, you gotta live for the weirdness in life, I think. That's at least how I try to live my life.
Yeah.
I have to imagine, though, for Texas State, though, they will still count that first round unless Ottawa really decides to throw a harumph about it. But everyone seemed to play that round out pretty much straightforward. So if I were in the picture, I would have to say Texas State do maintain their 1-0 lead. An impressive display from Matoska. You thought for a second with Noise's opening 2 kills that was going to be enough, that there is no way Ottawa throw away a 3v2 situation. But Matoska, other minds, or plans in mind, rather, I should say, and a lot of it comes down to the very dicey gunfight that we saw on that first kill in that play of the game. Pistol in hand, trying to reset the fight, runs into Lightning in the compartments of the train itself and still has a way to actually win that gunfight, giving him a real good look at that 1v1 versus Cruelty. Impressive display from Matoska for all 4 kills in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the timing certainly got to be there. Whether or not you catch Fame by surprise, not exactly something that a lot of us can say, whether you've run into him in league play or just in a comp match regardless. To be able to find that first and catch him off guard, it's just all about finding timing and quite literally manipulating the rest of your terrain to such a high regard. And that's the one thing that we got to look at when it is, you know, this Matoska fella coming in for Texas State. This is one of those new faces that we were talking about at the top of the broadcast. Texas State specifically are not fielding the same exact roster of what we saw back when these 2 teams did actually face off back in the CCL X ABC event. So now we're going to see some of this recruitment process really coming in through full of what this player can try to do on a game mode. Again, for Texas State, historically, when they did come into the CCL this past year, have looked pretty good.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. We are going to be loading back in here to map number 2. Just want to give you a small update as far as what else is happening in this winners round 2 at the moment. Texas Tech did strike first versus Oklahoma State. Tight one, went to the game clock, 222 to 210, this tally there in map number 1. Results already kind of reported, though, for the other 2 matches on the top side of the bracket. Indy Esports, which is Independence Community College. No idea where that is. They were able to take down Florida State Esports, and then St. Edwards. They actually did lose 1 map to University of Central Florida. They dropped the control, and there was a very tight round 11 search and destroy. So St. Edwards being tested early, but they still advanced. So the upper semifinals matchup that is scheduled to start here in a little bit should be Indy Esports versus SEU. Obviously, and this one would be the winner of this matchup playing up against the winner of Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. On the other reports from losers round 1, Southern Florida has been eliminated. The Bulls will be taken out in lower round 1 to a 3-0 tally to Florida Gulf Coast. And then a couple of other results starting to come through. Kennesaw State up 2-0 and Georgia Southern up 2-0 in their lower round matchup. So that's kind of just what's happening around the tournament overall. But we jump back on in, and I would have to assume, since the Braves are starting off on offense here, we will be still carrying over that Bobcat 1-0 lead from the first round.
Yeah, it's a safe bet. Spam shots through info. Going to be able to at least go 2 for 1. Then Fame just pushes it that much more forward, leaving Draco alive. Or Draco over here in Arrival. It's just trying to pick up the mates from the plane, and yeah, he's just gonna get pushed. And now it's just a very quick offense out from Ottawa. It's one of those things, especially for Express. We talked about this in our first search and destroy that we covered between UTF and the Armada, is that when you are in this state off the season of Cold War, that you're probably going to see a lot of 4-player hits. It just comes down to having the better gunny and being able to read the situation. Found at least the trade. but Ottawa just so much quicker to be able to push those certain avenues.
That stun coming through, making sure that there is no regeneration, actually, I think wins the round right there, because Draco was trying to play for a regen and maybe trying to catch somebody pushing him off guard, but not the case. No regen allowed once you get tagged up by any sort of effects. So 1-1 the count. Again, after the reset, aggressiveness coming out of Ottawa as they're going to make their way quickly through the offensive overpass. They have obviously isolated the fact that no one's over towards B, so they have the Bobcats realistically dead on trap. Noisy moving quickly, wants to try to find a timing, sees a number of members, gets the first, cannot get away though. Tactic for the trade, and with that, a little bit of a reprieve has been earned here for Texas State as they even push back Lightning down to critical HP.
And Mutaska actually went all the way back towards their spawn. They're going to catch Lightning off guard. That's going to be a 2-player down, 2v3 now. Texas State could take control of this A site. No trophy system has been accrued so far, so Semtex will come through. Got to deal with Cruelty on this Planter's box.
Mutaska, 1v1 with Fame. Not going to win that versus a Krig. Cruelty up close and personal. Also simultaneously deals with Tactic with scripts for one. Wanted the second one very quickly. Takes the challenge. Moves on out very fast. Fame, though, just a bit more in tune with where that gunfight was going to go down. Gets the first couple of bullets, and that very well may have turned the tides here in what has been our third round overall. But Texas State, I will say, that is an impressive bounce back considering the speed and quickness that Ottawa was trying to move through, especially on that backside flank.
Yeah, 2 good reads out of Fame, and again, not being able to deal with Cruelty on that first box just outside of the bomb itself is just so unfortunate for Texas Tech. That dealt with that flank, got the trade on Noisy initially, and then the great bamboozle on the Lightning didn't fully read that Mutaska went all the way around. Fame did end up finding that trade. They're actually on 4 straight now through 2 rounds. I mean, the potential to play for streaks are certainly on the cards when we're talking about Fame.
Stun over the top does connect, actually, for Texas State, but it doesn't make a difference. Noisy finds Tactic inside the compartments of the train. That'll be good for first blood. But the Bobcats looking frisky on the backside. Cruelty very aware of this Mutaska, who has been the heavy hitter after the ace in the first round and trying to keep that third round we just had at least somewhat manageable. Been dealt with. So now it's just down to a 2v4. And Scripps is completely isolated. Nowhere for him to go. And Draco has also now revealed his position as he finds Cruelty on the flank. Has a couple of different weapons to work with. Does see Noisy up top. Krig will do well at this range. Finds the kill. But look at Lightning. Snaking his way over. Doesn't catch a timing. And how about Draco? He wins it, turning into a 1v1. Regen not going to come through, though, and just misses a timing on the final Brave member on the backside. So the Ottawa Braves, they come off the lobby reset with a little bit of trade antics, and they win the first 3 rounds, although this one, again, maybe a little bit too close for comfort.
Just not going to fool Ottawa with such trickery of trying to lurch through the middle trade tracks of Mutaska. They're almost looking for it at this point, because much like you said, you know, through the previous rounds and even through some attempts through the Apocalypse, the hard point, I'm sure the Ottawa are really starting to realize, hey, this Mutaska player is going to try to be the playmaker. Let's watch our flanks. Let's make sure that nothing too wildly happens. And they're also able to preserve Fame's life as well. Now up to 5 straight. So this offense will be taking this B site by storm. Texas State are going to find this rather vacated. But as far as an offense is concerned, it's still smart to leave Draco all the way up in the catwalk to watch the cross.
And I love this call from Mutaska. Bobcats sitting there saying, hey, no one wants to challenge this. Let's go ahead and give ourselves an OBJ advantage. And they have found it. Plus positioning, everything looking good. Draco finds Noisy trying to cross. Stun does not catch Fame, though. So Fame quick to try to play for the trade. Just comes down to will they find each other in due time. Lightning on the other side. He will win a 1v1 as in the same breath. Fame does win his isolated battle versus Draco. So now it's a 3v2 for the Braves. The problem is the bomb is down to just 20 seconds left. Needing to get the defuse sooner rather than later. Cruelty, good isolation, finds Tactic. 2v1 situation. Scripts over the top. He doesn't have an angle onto Cruelty. Has nades, but can't quite get over the top. Finds the kill. Can he get the defuse in time? Yes, he can. 2 kills straight in Texas State once again. Finding a way to clutch up, and the Bobcats stay alive as the tally goes to a 3-2 overall round count.
Ooh, that got close, though. Scripps able to at least find the first, and well, at that point, I mean, you might as well just try to stick it, see if you can try to win out on that timing, but man, that got really close for Texas State. At least you're able to, yes, get yourself on the board for this lobby, moving it up to 3-2. Gotta remember that first round, that was 1 off of the ace from Mutaska. Making this a 1 round affair. 3 players essentially defending over towards the A site, but Ottawa They're just going to continue to hit this very, very fast. Lightning has Noisy over here with the bomb carrier in a very aggressive position.
Bobcat's still looking to get aggressive, though. Mataska caught out as Cruelty changed the angle of which he was watching the flank, and then Fame deals with tactics. Scripts up top, does at least keep some defensive pressure over towards A, but not enough to quell and stop the bomb from being planted. Noisy able to successfully get the plant off. Stunned on the corner, nobody there. Noisy wants to take away the space. Finds Scripps, up close and personal, but Scripps beautifully found. That's 4 in a row for him. Still working with Draco, but Draco's position had already been revealed through the middle of the map, so he's got to work his way quickly around the back to help out with this hit. And there is no information here for the Bobcats on where the final 2 players are, but it's going to be Scripps. Oh my goodness! Gets the gunfight win onto Fame and then shakes hands with Cruelty. Plenty of time for the defuse, and hold your horses, because he's going to be maybe just 1 plant away after that trophy gets destroyed from having himself an artillery strike for the first streak of the game.
I don't know if Draco ended up flushing Cruelty out in that position. I knew that they were all the way back on a catwalk position, maybe found some shots into Cruelty. I mean, they were full HP when Scripps ran into him, but I mean, Cruelty just started to hit that. Maybe some miscommunication, some mistiming coming through. Fame off the challenge saying that Scripps was weak, and Cruelty at least trying to find the trade to salvage that round after what seemed like such an easy one to win for Ottawa. Texas State just come right back, and like you said, probably just the hair of a mustachio away from getting this artillery strike, and that's got to be a guaranteed round win. You can see how Texas State are setting up for this offense initially. It's going to be towards this A site. Tactic is the one carrying the bomb, so they're mostly just going to be playing off the kill. If Scripps can find it, that'll be the artillery.
Timing is good, though. Not seeing any pressure from the front, but nobody expects to play through the mid-concourse. So Scripps will be shut down, and then more pressure from the overpass Draco also going to fall. And this is difficult because for Texas State, you got to make a decision. Do you push through or do you try to plant and hold? It's a little bit of a war on 2 fronts at the moment as they do the same thing. 1 player pushing, 1 player planting. But it will have to be essentially both players on an island, especially Mataska, who is out in no man's land. Tactic cannot channel his inner Scripts to find the gunfight. Win to Mataska eventually not able to handle the surmounting pressure from the Braves. That'll be enough to go to a 4-3 tally in the first convincing round that we've seen from Ottawa, really since, stop the sentence there. The first convincing round we've seen from Ottawa so far.
Well, besides that offense over towards B, when we hopped into the recreation of this lobby, I would say it would probably be the only, like, the decisive round. But, you know, a decisive defensive round, I guess, is something that you could certainly say. Just a nice retake in general. But, you know, it all started and stopped with getting Scripps down. The entire play for Texas State was to, you know, get Scripps that 1 kill, so that way they were able to get themselves the artillery strike, plant that bomb at A, and then play off the ping and then the strikes from the artillery itself, so that way you could guarantee yourself the round. None of which goes right for Texas State. Scripps goes down from the mid-hall cross. Now Ottawa feeling themselves. They're going to go back towards this B push that worked well.
Yeah, Ottawa's getting a lot of information off these nades here. Semtex connects, stun, also the follow. There goes the push. They're brilliantly coordinated. Noisy even going to get a couple of shots on the player over through the arrival. That'll be enough for him to say, okay, I'll take the second challenge, wins it. And how is there not a single trophy down for the Bobcats? Oh, there it was. It was just too far back.
I mean, the trophy system's got to reach. It's not that wild, though. Bomb's going to get planted here by Noisy. This is effectively going to have to come through from a pinch, you would think. And Scripps is going to start working their way through the middle of the map and see if they can try to at least steal the player and overwhelm them.
Tactic not able to find any success on his first challenge. Scripps, same situation. But the second challenge, Tactic able to find 1. Could make life a bit easier for Scripps, but does not anticipate that Noisy had once again taken that middle concourse away. So that's now 2 rounds in a row where we've seen some hijinks from Ottawa, at least at some port of the round, through the middle of the map. We haven't really seen many pushes through that instance, but honestly, this whole round is determined by that trophy system right near those blue chairs. Similar situation, but you don't get that trophy far enough forward. I mean, the Semtex and the stun that connects on the first member for the Bobcats up towards the staircase towards B never had a chance.
Chairs, stairs, same fixtures at the end of the day. They all fall underneath the same category, right? But
yeah,
still.
a bunch of airs.
Yeah. Texas State feeling the aggression now. They want this B site quickly. The last time they did this, it was vacant. Not this time around, as Noisy's going to find first blood. Cruelty will be traded, though. 3v3 with the bomb essentially dropped right on the site.
Good follow-up kill, though, from Draco. Finds Fame trying to rotate and reposition. Bomb still down in a Pretty uncomfortable spot. Lightning, if he sees it, could be massive, but doesn't make a difference. Tactic checking tickets in the middle. Able to find the next elimination. Noisy on 6 in a row. I mean, there's really no reason that you need to play for this streak, but giving away around here is not the end of the world. You'd be looking at a 5-4 tally, though. And it looks like Noisy will be happy just to see if maybe he can find someone on an exit for a free kill, and that artillery strike very well just be the last resource needed to put this game away.
Noisy with the patience. It's freaking me out. But yeah, it's just a smart call overall. And Texas State could be more than happy to at least keep their heads above water for the time being. That was a brilliant take over towards that B site. Noisy is starting to swing a little bit wider. We'll see Scripps up top, get some opening shots, but Draco's inside the elevator. Noisy down incredibly low. Would love to get this artillery. Won't be allowed to find it as Tactic will swing in. And that is a big elimination to find off of a big round again to keep their heads above water inside the search and destroy. Again, this has been a mainstay as far as what we have considered for Texas State. Across all 3 of the game modes that have been played through Cold War, that Search and Destroy is going to be their better game mode and the one that you should be able to try to take off of Ottawa Braves, considering that this is their weakest game mode. But the aggression from Noisy up to 10-5, regardless of not earning the streak, has been just so punishing.
5-4 the round count after the restart. This time, Texas State getting aggressive. Scripps not able to find anything with the aggro peak, though. It looks like Lightning and Fame want to challenge this. Fame able to find one, but it's Mataska who wins the battle versus Noisy. So now all of a sudden, Ottawa have to scrap together kills, and they've done okay with that. The problem was no pressure to the middle of the map means that Texas State are able to use that position to their advantage and send Cruelty into now a 1v2 with no bomb.
Yeah, and Crick 6 too. Tactic Mataska, they're going to realize this. Potentially that will be the weapon to play with, and yeah, the angle is going to be crossed. They're going to see Cruelty start to work their way through main hall. Has to make a play happen here.
Cruelty thought about the plant, turning his attention back towards the middle of the map. He slips right by Tactic, but I believe Tactic has seen him. Yep, sure has. Mataska quick to try to help if needed, but that pressure not necessarily required. And Texas State, 2 rounds in a row, have now sent us to a round 11. We framed this up, must-win map for a team that was very potent in their search and destroy back in the regular season this last spring. Now starting to find an opportunity, really kind of crept up to their doorstep, and how many of those opportunities were just simply off the buy factor of you had a huge ace from Mataska in the first, and then 2 rounds that were single-handedly clutched up by Scripps. Texas State now on to the offense for round 11. And it's going to be right back over to the tried and true. Over towards B. Is there a trophy down to help this? Looks like there is one put just behind. Not going to be necessarily needed, and the Bobcats have some position over the middle of the map.
Last time this didn't go as well, but they didn't end up leaving Draco behind. It was a 4-player hit previously. We haven't seen this offense from Ottawa Braves in a few rounds. It's just all about the timing, and even off screen. Yeah, Draco, I don't believe, fully read the Lightning was pushing it, so now that flank is open up wide. Now Mataska has to cover that out from departures. It's just about finding at least a trade, evening things up 3v3 before you feel any comfort for a rotation. Down to 48 seconds. Mataska's going to start pushing this mid-hall, trying to find a trade, and Tactic goes down. Not good.
It's tough. You have to know the Lightning is still around the backside of you. And the bomb carrier watching the flank just means that you just don't really have an opportunity to really make a play towards a bomb site. At least not initially. So now it's on to Mataska to once again throw on the cape and go hero mode. Holding over towards B is Scripps. He's not really in a position to see much of anything, though. So Mataska's going in completely blind. He's going to take the gamble that he can clear this out pretty freely. Loses one, but finds Lightning. Opportunity to plant, and he'll be able to get this off freely. This is going to reset the timer and put it to 45 seconds. Ottawa, quick to try to hit this together. Do not give Mataska a chance to go 1-for-1 again to try to clutch up what would be, I think, another ace on the round. Timing not good for either side, really. Mataska's not going to have the information that Fame and Noisy have crossed, and obviously beyond that, Fame and Noisy have no idea where Mataska is, but they've cleared a lot of space. Fame now on the defuse. Mataska pushed away. Cannot get the mantle. Has to check the bomb. Does he get here in time? Not going to happen. Noisy for the kill, and Ottawa, round 11, now go up 2-0 in the series.
6-5, the round 11. Ottawa, like you call it out, do not let Mataska take these individual gunfights, but just throwing the shoulder and eating a little bit of damage, and then the unfortunate mishap that happened of not being able to get that mantle. Where'd you go?
What happened? I don't know.
Where'd you go? I miss you so.
On, but
Feels
it's
like you've gone forever.
I don't really know what's going on here.
Well, it's all right. Well, regardless, I miss Shift's face. I'm sure everybody else does as well. But yeah, Ottawa, I mean, through a lot of those rounds, it was all aggression. And Texas State just later on in the rounds. Oh, welcome back. Hey, guy. Texas State later on in the rounds, they started getting rather aggressive themselves. Yes, Scripps had to close out a lot of rounds in a very clutch format. Yeah, but the way that they started just not almost respecting the space that Ottawa were continuously yoinking away from them, they started taking it back themselves. And it started garnering not only just trades, but sometimes favorable opening gunfights, of which they started really implementing a numbers advantage. It just comes down to when you're in those 2v2 situations, much like when you saw those two players that were left alive in that round 11, that they were just completely two separate islands. There was no way that they were going to be able to find trades. There was no way that they were going to be able to at least convey information that mattered to be able to then find the trade. It was just a little sloppy once we got down to it, but I like the little adaptation coming through from Texas State to try to get as aggressive as Ottawa.
I do too, and I think that little bit of extra confidence and aggression does lead to punishing Ottawa for being a little bit sloppy in some of those closeout rounds for that ace in the first, and then of course the double Scripps clutch up moments. But with that in mind, Ottawa still find themselves up 2-0 overall in the series. A tall ask for any team, but especially here for the Bobcats to try to go for a reverse sweep to stay in this upper bracket. We'll step away for a moment. When we come back, Raid Control on the docket coming up next. Welcome back, everybody. It's been all Ottawa so far on the scoreboard, but a couple of nice moments from the Bobcats, definitely fighting and clawing their way into a couple of different instances throughout this series thus far. Problem is, you can no longer just try to scrap together moments. You have to essentially play perfect COD from here on out, and it has to start on Raid Control to get this reverse sweep underway if you're from Texas State.
Yeah, going towards this Raid Control, I mean, if there's one thing that you can possibly take away if you are a fan of Texas State, is that Matoska was starting to feel the hot hand. They were starting to find a lot of good timing. They found the ace in the opening round, although we had to go for the lobby reset. That sort of lurking and slaying role wasn't really as vibrant in the hard point as it was in the Express Search and Destroy. So we're going to need more of that if we're looking for Texas State to start to find some legs in this reverse sweep. But there's not exactly a historical positive on the day for this Texas State to be able to take this control off of a very dominant Ottawa Braves roster, considering that they lost to KSU in their control. It did go to a round number 5. No, I don't know what the map is. I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, because the overall slaying and the ability of what we saw from Fame and Noisy alone to find the space provided for that Apocalypse hardpoint might just go off the rails here on the Raid Control.
And that's the thing, you know, when you're playing up against such a heavily invested squad into their competitive careers outside of college COD, but also as a part of it, considering the fact that these players were all put onto scholarship to play at Ottawa in the first place, it's a tall ask. And I know that this is, you know, one of those matchups that you look at, and I think for a lot of people, the conversation about, like, is scholarshiping players good or bad for college COD overall, I don't see how you could say it's bad. I still don't really see that. It's just one of those things that's like, if you know you're going to have to play up against a heavy-hitting squad like this come eventually the regular season, you better be ready to essentially outwork them, because, hey, hard work is what really ends up paying off, because talent does not outwork those that actually put the time and energy in. So it'll be interesting, I think, just to see, you know, as a first taste, you know, what this Bobcats team could potentially do into the future, let alone the immediate future, because we do have this Raid Control that we still have to consider as we get into the mix of this third map. Again, just kind of giving you updates as far as what else is happening across the bracket. Coming up next for our broadcast coverage, we'll be going into the winter semifinals. Indy Esports St. Edwards matched up in the top side of the bracket. Texas Tech with a 3-0 over Oklahoma State will be awaiting the winner of this matchup here. And the lower side of the bracket, not a lot of updates as far as who else has been eliminated outside of Southern Florida, so at least some desired results to come through eventually. But we jump into the control. Ottawa on the offense, straight over towards A. The Bobcats have given up a lot of space here, trying to play mostly through the middle of the map, and it's going to cost them 2 ticks of progress without really any contest at all.
It's going to essentially cost them the entire A zone. I mean, they got to work their way from red, and luckily enough, the Pillars hit will be there as well. Tactically, the Diamante will finally get lightning off that point, but That got scary very quickly. Only 2 lives have been lost for Texas State, but you would not consider that given how quickly those 2 ticks of progression worked their way over towards A. So here on raid control, the A push didn't go all the way through. You didn't get the extra 60 seconds, but you will effectively spawn parallel towards the B zone, but Scripps is in their spawn. That's their first kill on the board as well, and now you just got to continuously check out the flank, but Noisy's trying to create some more noise on the B zone.
Yeah, Draco, good gunfight. I was about to say he's going to have to play pretty patiently, losing his teammate to a stick, but he does eventually take the challenge and pushes Noisy off the B zone. So now time becoming a bit of a problem, and I will say for the risk versus reward play for the Bobcats to play mostly to the middle map and give up pressure at A, they've done very well here, managing lives and beyond that the clock. Scripps now looking to get involved, try to keep that A zone away from the Braves. Not going to happen. 60 seconds added, and the life margin just dwindled to 4, where Ottawa are already setting up a play towards B.
Problem with this is that Ottawa, they have kitchen control. Okay, they deal with lightning, so now you're able to get that power position back, but you still got to deal with Noisy inside of Tiki. Mataska goes down from Fame. There's still 2 players here for Ottawa, but kitchen presence is here. Now you can start trying to work your way onto the zone, deny this first take of progress. They're dealing with all these players quite wonderfully, but the first take of progress still gets completely tacked over for Ottawa.
Noisy pushing through aggressive challenge. Kern's back for tactic. Good team shots coming up. Fame finds his immediate response trade. Draco's the last player left, and with that kill and a cruelty, everyone knows where he's positioned. Mataska trying to threaten through the window, but Fame too good for it. Trades will be there, but not good enough at the moment. Noisy, 1v1 with Scripps. Not going to have a chance to get the gun up forward, and Tactic on the pinch, actually able to find one more. Doesn't expect the second to be on the backside. And we're going to get 11 playing up against 5, favoring the defense of the Bobcats. That may have been the last really solid attempt for Ottawa to get that third tick of progress. From here on out for the next 60 seconds, it's all about just finding clean gunfight wins. Any trade is a good trade here for the Bobcats.
Yep, exactly that. No respawns remaining now for Ottawa. Just got to read where they're hitting from. They've done such a great job, have Texas State, of preserving their life. Didn't fully read that all of Ottawa, well, 2 of them at the very least, had gotten kitchen control. But this is still okay. 40 seconds remaining just to be able to find these 4 kills. But you give Ottawa an inch, they will start running away. There goes the first. Noisy goes down. 3 players remaining.
Not looking all that positive here. Lightning and Fame kind of caught in no man's land, even more so now for Lightning. He does get a look at Draco, wants to chase him down, cannot put together the pieces, so he turns back for Scripps, who was able to take over the tree heady. So, Texas State, man, I'll tell you, very clean stuff. I mean, even in this opening exchange, where, yeah, sure, we're going to see a couple of kills from James POV, this play to the middle of the map ends up being ultimately successful, if you want to consider it. Sure, of course, they do eventually lose the A site, but hey, I mean, you delayed it for a long period of time, and you built yourself up a pretty substantial life lead because of it.
And it's one of those things when we're talking about control, you have a multitude of win conditions. And since the early get-go, Texas State, yes, they gave up those 2 ticks of progress very early, like you were mentioning on that A zone, but they only lost 2 lives. And once the transition started going over towards B, they continuously always found those trades preserving their life furthermore and being able to keep that lead going, ultimately being the win condition that gave them the round. So that's what you really got to respect out of Texas State there, to strike first, form a defensive round. Now it's going to be a hot and heavy A hit, but you got pillars control there for Noisy and Lightning. They will go down. Last player on the site will be Mataska. See how much damage they're able to find. Not much left after Cruelty takes him down.
And they don't fully confirm that last bit of progress onto that first tick at A. So now, as the spawns will push them to essentially default for a B hit. Wait a second. This is actually looking really good for them. Draco's going to have free generation here, mostly because Tactic is zoning from jungle. He's going to force the defensive spawns all the way out by Laundry. He wins another gunfight. Fame looking to pick up the trade. He can't take down Tactic. 2 in a row. One more attempt from Cruelty will eventually get the kill, but with a second player joining Draco on the zone, that's the second tick of progress, working quickly for a third. Ottawa has to go. They have to touch. You don't want to give away this B zone so quickly. Noisy picks over towards the close right direction. That was not where the player had stood, and Scripps will finish things off. The Bobcats, their hand forced towards B, and, well, they find a way to take it in their first attempt.
60 seconds on the board, taking the harder of the 2 zones here on raid control. So now this is going to force Ottawa Braves' hand to play this ringside. That can still open up a lot of flanks through red, through driveway, but Draco will read the first from Noisy. Lightning's still going to continue to hit this, though, and they have no idea this is about to be coming through from behind. Solo player, off-screen tactic, try to make a play back. Tiles will be dealt with in kind. And all of this play just completely fell by the wayside for Texas State. It was a good attempt, but not a whole lot that they can capitalize off of this. Ottawa are pushing to their spawn as well.
Yeah, this is where things can become a little bit dicey when you're dealing with a number of just very talented individual players where they just kind of wreak havoc in your backline and then just stay elusive the entire way. You need to make sure you're staying controlled here if you're the Bobcats, because you've already done the hard part, getting that B zone. Can you clear off the mid-map and then put some pressure onto A is the question. Tactic does one of the first 2 steps needed, but not going to be able to do anything over towards the zone itself. The kill feed turning up all Ottawa's favor. Even though Noisy did get team killed, not going to make too much of a difference overall. 12 playing up against 9, and the Bobcats, they've gone empty in the last couple of attempts and fights.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, continuous setups. But once they start getting past that 50-yard line, everything just starts getting taken on down. Just Ottawa off the reprise, if you will, from the respawn. It's able to reinsert themselves in positions, and the lingering members that weren't previously dealt with are able to then pick up on the crosses. 2 lives remaining versus the 9 of Ottawa. Bataska versus Tactic. Look, Bataska got the ace in round number 1 of Express Search and Destroy. That would have been a phenomenal feat to be able to witness all of that, but at least it was answered back. That B push that ended up coming through, and then the continuous zoning from jungle as well as kitchen. That's that little lick of aggression that I started really noticing from Texas State back on the Express Search and Destroy in those later rounds. That then started to proceed itself here in that offense here on Raid, but they just could not convert through the middle of the map to get that A zone. Wonderful defense there from Ottawa to not allow the 2 zones to go over towards Texas State.
Yeah, it's just, man, it's moments like that where if you don't put in the rehearsal time in scrimmaging and being a part of the regular season, that can go awry very quickly, where you've done the hard part, maybe a bit of a surprise to yourself, but then all of a sudden you have to kind of go back and remember, wait, how do we actually retake our own spawn in the middle of the map when we were trying to get to A? So questions were asked, none were answered, and an opportunity here for Ottawa to actually do the exact same thing to the Bobcats, but off their initial attempt, Fame and Noisy combined for 3, and Scripps, you're just best off trying to play for an exit here. There's no chance to contest this, and very quickly, that will be good enough for Ottawa to put themselves on 2 minutes and 13 seconds to get to A, and the kills are also coming their way. Looking the best offensive start so far from either side.
And they're starting to find eliminations towards the middle of the map. Cruelty with a little spinneroony there after they took down Mataska. Middle of the map could be opened up. Cruelty with a double weapon setup. Starting to zone away back jungle. There's Fame. There's Noisy. 3 down immediately. Tactic, the last player left alive on the side of Laundry, is going to get pinched all the way up, but Ottawa are already on the A zone.
Not good news here for the Bobcats after a very good first defense. This one barely even getting off the ground. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that Cruelty and Fame have absolutely started to take over. It was a slow start for Cruelty in the first 2 rounds, but he was on 5 in a row. Fame now on 5 of his own. Kills will come through for the Bobcats, but it's not going to be good enough. Fame looking for number 7. He catches the shoulder, doesn't finish the kill, though. Spamming, trying to find one last bullet to deal with Draco. His teammates will clean things up, and Fame will get the final capture percentage. I don't know if the score was enough to earn himself a lightning, or pardon me, an artillery strike, rather. But regardless of that, impressive stuff from Cruelty and Fame here in the opening of this offense.
He's already got a lightning. He's on his team. It's okay. Already earned that at the beginning of the Cold War season. But still, Ottawa, what they were able to quite literally flip on its head was the sheer fact that Texas State this time around were not preserving their lives at all. Everything that I praised them for on that opening defense of being able to preserve their life and being able to then find timing to then pinch over these sites and retake them just never came through. Ottawa were able to work that zone so quickly and then watch all the different angles that were more than necessary to cover them. That was one of the quickest rounds I've seen in quite some time. So now Texas State, they have to answer back with an offense of their own to set it to a round number 5. Quick off the get-go inside this A zone. Noisy, though, inside of red. Has a little bit of a flank. The angle tactic will put him down, though.
There's still an opportunity to still contest this, though. Fame does find his 7th kill. Not going to get the ace, so the artillery strike should have been earned. Going to be short of the cruise missile, but Cruelty is able to deny the 3rd tick of progress from fully being confirmed. Working on the depletion now is Ottawa. One more player nearby is Tactic. Lightning, don't believe he meant to mantle, but still didn't make much of a difference. The hip fire was good enough to finish off the kill, and yes, you see it there. Fame has earned the artillery strike. 3rd tick of progress has almost fully been depleted. There is still one more member, though, actually over towards A. I don't believe Ottawa have actually recognized that Mataska slipped through, so they'll track back to try to deal with them, and they do so cleanly. In the same breath, They don't give away any space over through bedroom either. So Ottawa all over the offensive spawns. And once more, the Bobcats need to find a way to cleanly get themselves out of this garage area.
Again, Mataska trying to create a ruckus over towards A. Ended up having 2 players looking back towards it, but the other 2 players for Ottawa just never gave up the space, much like you were saying. And when you're creating distractions like this goes back to the previous offense. The artillery strike will be called in here, and won't find anything besides space provided, but the kills soon afterwards are just so good for Ottawa. They're cleaning things up left, right, and center. 25 seconds, yeah, party on, rock it out, Fame, because this is just going to potentially be a 3-0. 20 seconds for Texas to make a play. They're down to 10 lives.
It's looking like lives won't be a part of the picture, but the clock absolutely will. Last chance for the Bobcats. They have to try to flood their way over towards B, and look at all the Braves members. They know exactly what's happening. Quick to move over as Cruelty finds himself another. Lightning makes sure that there is at least some defensive pressure to stop Draco from getting to B and touching. Although there will be one more set of spawns over through driveway. This is not done yet, but it would still be an absolute miracle even if the Bobcats do add 60 seconds, which they do. So 5 plays up against 18. Tactic looking to chase down Lightning, which was hopefully going to be a free kill, but he steps away from the fight, gets the regen off, and then turns his attention back 17v3. Only a matter of time here before Ottawa can put a 3-0 on the cards. One more life will do it. It's Mataska. What's the play here? I mean, really, there is no play here. Good luck, have fun. And it's looking like Ottawa will have a chance to move on and play up against Texas Tech.
No!
Not going to happen.
Wow!
Execution. Sorry about that, brother. And that will be a cold way to end a 3-0 as we look for our attention over towards the winner semifinals, which will be up next.
Oh, the irony. The irony. The 1v17. Maybe I can walk away with an assassination at the very least. No. Well, you can't even walk away with the consolation prize. So sorry. That's, man. Even after that first defense for Texas State, again, it just always keeping that life advantage to a very nice opening for their offense. They took the hardest site, but then much like how you said, they just struggled on being able to not only retake their spawn, but the middle of the map as well to get back over towards A. And then from there on out, Ottawa just did not let off the gas at all. They were just berating them on every single corner. If there was any sort of resemblance of a team gunfight, I'm not sure that I saw it because I had to blink eventually. I'm only human over here. But Ottawa, it just completely obliterated them going forward off that. And that was some massive shades of what Ottawa looked like back on that Apocalypse hardpoint as well, when they just completely just dominated the middle of the map. Noisy, Fame, Lightning, or even Cruelty at certain instances of time. You give any one of these players an inch to breathe, and they will run it for a whole mile.
Very much so the case. So that brings us to the conclusion of winners round 2. We'll do one more round here in the upper bracket for today. The tournament will continue tomorrow with the rest of the brackets. So on the schedule coming up next, like I already mentioned, it's the upper semifinals. Indy Esports playing up against St. Edwards, Texas Tech playing up against Ottawa. Down into the lower bracket, a couple of weird situations starting to unfold. We already talked about FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast, taking a 3-0 versus the University of South Florida. But Full Sail has actually found their own 3-0. That was versus OCU Esports. Very convincing as well. And then Georgia Southern appears to have either defaulted to not playing through their lower bracket or I don't know what. But Oklahoma has moved past them to play up against Central Florida. And then a reverse sweep required of Oklahoma Christian. They are currently putting that together after getting blown out in the first hard point, not being able to take the second search. They found a round 5 win in the control and then a dominant map number 4. So that one is going over to map 5. Would be a huge surprise to see OC Esports knocked out. But hey, anything can happen in that lower bracket, especially with the talented teams we have here for the Florida Mutineers and CCL Invitational. We'll step away for now and hopefully not be too far away from coming back for coverage of that upper semifinals. But for now, we step aside and we'll be back in just a little bit.